Welcome to another episode of The Impossible Life. I'm your co-host, Nick Surface. I'm sat across from a man who, as a young boy, got separated from his parents on vacation in the country of Zamunda. 8 months later, they discovered him, where he had become part of the Aborigines, living only off of sand and drinking water from streams. That's right, folks. The former Navy SEAL, my co-host, Garrett Unkelbach.
That was elaborate.
Yeah.
What was I doing with the sand?
I mean, that's what you were
Was I
eating.
eating it?
Yeah, that's what you're eating. That's why you have such a strong stomach.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you lived the story. You should know it.
Right. Of course.
For the record, that intro actually went on a lot longer. I was going to talk about how you had your name and you were called Wuhaka by the locals, but we've got a special guest here, and I didn't want to spend too much time.
I am
on your
down
intro.
to go live with the Aboriginals. That would be so epic.
Well, side shout out.
Those dudes are all jacked, by the way.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't eat sugar.
Well, is that
They just run around and kill stuff. Like, every Aboriginal male has a six-pack. So, yes, I'm down to live with those guys.
Well, there you go. Now you know the standards for what makes a country that Garrett would live in. Just as long as dudes have six-packs. That's not kind of weird, dude. But speaking of six-packs, we have a guy.
Yeah,
sat
respect
next to
for the
us.
low body fat.
Yeah, that is respect. Let it go, bro. We are sat with a guy today, very special guest. We have Jason. Is it Poston or Poston? Am I saying it right?
Poston.
Poston.
A lot of people say Poston, but it's
Yeah,
Poston.
I should have asked you that beforehand, so I apologize for that. But we have Jason Poston with us. Jason Poston is a man who is known for being a professional bodybuilder, but really, the first thing I noticed, the guy looks like the Lego god himself, formed a beard out of plastic and snapped it onto his face. I mean, your beard is unbelievable.
It's legit.
It is, like, ridiculous.
It's a good day today.
I have beard
We're
envy.
coming out of the ice storm here,
Yeah.
so everyone's getting cleaned up today. Now that we can actually go somewhere.
Well, it's amazing. I gotta, that's probably the weird way to introduce you. You've got done a lot more. So let's get to the stuff that's maybe a little bit more interesting to people. So Jason was a professional bodybuilder for 4 years. He was a 4-time Mr. Olympia contestant, twice finishing third. He had a number of first place finishes in there as well, including first place in 2014 at the Europa Show of Champions in Orlando. You got first place in the New York Pro, first place in the Europa Phoenix Pro Championship, and then you finished second in the Arnold Classic Ohio, which gets special mention because it's got Arnold's name in it. So, I mean, you've scaled the heights on bodybuilding and done a lot of amazing things. But what people may not know about you is that you are a type 1 diabetic, and at the age of 28, you weren't even doing anything with bodybuilding. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, no, I was lifting weights. I love lifting weights. I've probably been lifting weights for 10 years, but I worked out more for athleticism and performance. It was all functional training. So it wasn't about sculpting or building a physique for a look. It was about sports performance, health, just simply having fun with working out and not any type of like strict purpose, right? With bodybuilding, we have one purpose. It's to build and sculpt a physique that looks good on stage and wins competitions.
Yeah, and I want to get so much more into that. We're going to be talking today about choice, which is ultimately the strongest muscle you've got. You're a strong dude, Jason. I mean, my first question, now that I am not allowed to ask about your beard anymore since we covered that, how much you bench?
Hey, well, first of all, let me talk about this beard. I tell all my friends and my wife, and you guys probably know this, I would not have this beard if I didn't get paid to have it. But I'm very blessed that I get paid to market these products. And when this company approached me, like you guys probably would too, like, well, how much money can I make with beard products or with men's grooming? Well, men's grooming is actually a very marketable and profitable industry. But beards during this whole pandemic have taken off.
Yeah.
Guys don't have to go to the office anymore. Guys are living out in the woods more. I think it's maybe one of those things where like, hey, life is short.
Yeah, grow a beard.
Let's just let go a little bit. So, yeah, this beard company approached me, and it's the Beard Struggle. You guys can find it on my social media.
What is it? The beard struggle?
The Beard Struggle.
Okay.
Because it really is
For
a struggle.
people who don't have a beard, but they want to look like your beard.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm genuinely going to go check that out because, like, it's like ridiculous.
If
how
I
big your
had
beard
beard supplements, I would definitely pay Jason to rep them.
Yes, so would I. By the way, if you want to follow Jason, you can join his other 1.1 million followers at Jason Poston Pro on Instagram. He's a great follow.
I'm down to a million. I posted about Trump, so I lost.
Oh, did you?
I lost like 5,000. I was barely over. I was like 1 point, I don't know, 1 something. And then, boom, I posted about Trump. Boom.
That's crazy, man.
The 5,000 liberals that were mad at me, they unfollowed. And
Okay, so he's just had a cool million. Step up your game.
It'll
Jason.
get back up there.
You're really slacking, dude.
So we could talk about beards for a long time because Jason has a sick beard. But I want to, and there were some questions I wanted to ask you. But before we get into any of the questions, just wanted to say, most people have looked at your Instagram by now or your Wikipedia page and seen everything. Is there anything that Nick didn't say that you would put on your highlight wall?
You know what? He talks so fast. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's actually something like
Busted.
Either that or my ADD. I mean, I don't. I did multiple Arnolds, right?
Okay.
So I did a few Arnolds, and I got second place twice.
Okay.
Which is that'll really tick you off if you're like that close to winning 2 times in a row.
Nothing will get you fired up like second place.
Yeah, and especially it was from an injury. My back cramped up, so I could have won, but I literally couldn't relax my back on stage because of the spasms and cramps.
Oh,
and
man.
it was unfortunate, but it was a learning lesson. Like everything, I learned what I could have done, but after the fact that I lost that big trophy. And then I've done, I don't know if you said I did 4 Olympias.
Yeah.
So
Finished third twice.
Yeah, and then the whole reason I started this journey is because it was type 1. I had no interest in bodybuilding, but the interest came from when I had a sudden life change and I didn't know how to, work or live my life every day. And I love fitness. So I was like, listen, I need a more basic form of working out, which is just like bodybuilding. Not that it's basic, but it doesn't necessarily burn as many calories in actual workouts as running and cross training. The rate at which you burn energy. I want to keep it kind of simple here for all the listeners, but the rate at which you burn glucose for bodybuilding is pretty consistent.
Yeah.
You sit and you do an exercise, then you rest. And then you do an exercise and you rest. You do an exercise and you rest. You do an exercise and you rest. And you do that for about an hour, hour and a half, and then you rest and you go on and do the same thing again tomorrow. And then you eat the same thing pretty much every day. 6 meals a day. That's a summary.
So you're saying it was a little bit easier to program and control your calorie consumption and manage your type 1, you felt like?
Yeah, for me, it was super simple, doing the same thing every day.
So everyone knows you as Mr. Olympia Jason and bodybuilder Jason and Instagram Jason, but let's talk about, let's do some prequel story here, the run-up to how you became who you are today. So I want to dig into, I know Nick has some questions for you, but I want to dig into like some of your childhood, really some of your early ways of thinking. Our listeners know that we like to talk about that because some of those early years are really what form and shape your way of thinking. So let's just start with where did Jason grow up? What, tell us your story.
I grew up in Grapevine, Texas. Grapevine's bigger now. When I grew, I'm 40 now, so when I grew up there, all the way up till I was 18, it was a little bit more of a smaller town. I went to Colleyville Heritage High School, graduated in 2000.
And just so I'm clear, and the listeners are clear, type 1 means you had it from birth, right? So you were managing this all as a child?
Well, no, that's the thing. I acquired, or however you say, I was diagnosed at age 29.
Oh, wow.
So
crazy.
All the sports I played, the way I lived life was normal, and I never had any symptoms. I never had any warnings. It was just boom, 29 years old, the year 2011. I, started losing a ton of weight, and I had all these crazy side effects and the things that were going on, symptoms, we wouldn't call them side effects, but symptoms. And all these things were obvious that something was wrong with me. So, I can get in that story later, but no, I wasn't diagnosed till I was 29.
Okay, yeah. So we'll come to that diagnosis. So give us some of just the story on you leading up to that diagnosis. What did you do in high school? What sports did you play?
High school for me was really a rebel phase. I was really, I was a good kid. I mean, I was in church, in and out of church, but I love, I had a relationship with the Lord, had best of friends, good relationship with my parents. But when it came down to school, I always had a hard time focusing. So I did play sports, but to be honest, I was one of those kids, I would fail classes. I just didn't respect academics. I had
What were you interested in? What had all of your attention?
Probably like being cool and girls.
Okay. Okay.
That was it. I was trying so hard to be cool, and I liked girls. I had a girlfriend. I mean, it was just all about the social life. I didn't see the benefits of academics at all. It was sad.
So obviously there's a transition there from thinking that way to becoming someone who's so disciplined. So kind of walk us through that. What happens after high school for you?
Well, hang on. Sorry,
Nick's got
to
some
interrupt you
questions.
with a question. Were you like what? How big were you in high school? Because you're. I mean, what do you weigh right now?
I'm 215,
You're 215. How tall are you?
5'10".
Okay, so he's 5'10", 215. He's jacked. You'll see the pictures in the video, which, by the way, we're on YouTube now,
I'm
so you
down
can
weight,
actually
yeah.
watch this.
I'm normally like 225.
Okay, well,
But the diabetes kind of I lost some weight recently, but it's coming back.
I mean, I'm not going to throw any stones at you, bro. I'm 180. But okay, so in high school, like, what's your physique like? You're 5'10" in high school, and what do you look like physically?
You know, I grew after high school.
Okay.
So I was probably like 5'8", 5'9" when I graduated.
Oh, okay.
And I grew. And a lot of guys in my family are like that. My brother was like that. My dad was like this. And but I weighed about 155 pounds when I graduated.
Dang, okay.
And I also was old for my class. That's what's crazy. I mean, I was 18 my whole senior year. So I was older than most of the guys. I was just people in my life or people in my family are late bloomers.
Right.
But yeah, I played basketball, wasn't the best at it. I played football, wasn't the best at it. I wrestled and was good at that, but then I could never get my grades up. So like, you know, I played hockey, but it wasn't in our school. It was a outside school, you know, sport. But that was it, man. It was, you know, I wasn't really focused in high school. And when you look at the way high school functions or the curriculum, a lot of guys like me don't really have an opportunity. And I mean, I blame myself, right? And I blame my leadership. I mean, my parents, they didn't really push me to make good grades, right? My mom, bless her heart, really pushed me to just not get in trouble, right? And to stay out of trouble. So I feel bad for, you know, the stress she probably had. But my dad just could care less if I made good grades or not. It wasn't too important. It's basically don't embarrass him.
Right.
Like don't get suspended. Don't get in fights and give him a bad name, and he's cool with it. But I don't like the way high school is structured for people who simply don't have the attention span to pay attention. You know, I think there is core curriculum like studies that everyone needs to go through, but I just don't feel like there's enough options to keep, you know, all the kids interested.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of talk about that, right? There's a big discussion. That's why I like homeschool right now.
I think it's such a parenting issue, right? Like school is like, hey, send them off to a government-sponsored institution and you educate my child. I think there's way better ways to educate children than school. Like school would be so much more interesting to students if you could help them connect it to their life. What do you want to be? Why do you want to learn these things? Like I never went to college, and I've learned some great things in this current season of life that college would have taught me. But I think about like learning some of the finance stuff that I do now, trying to do that in college. I would have hated it because I'm learning from a guy who doesn't put this into practice, trying to tell me how to do it. And I'd be like, why am I learning this right now? But now that I need to know these things, I was so hungry to go out and learn them. So I'm right there with you. Parenting and the influence is on your life. Your leadership can definitely change the way that you think about learning. So I'm right there with you on that one.
You guys are both driven by your passions heavily. So I think like and also, have you ever thought, do you think your type 1 diabetes that you didn't know you had might have played a part in you struggling to keep paying attention in school?
Man, it comes across my mind. Like I think about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, they put me on medication, right? Like Ritalin and stuff like that.
Right.
And I would get depressed. I don't think that really works for me. But no, I really think it comes down to the lack of leadership from my pops. He didn't invest in the kids, right? He just didn't. And then also think that, you know, the things I was into were things that I didn't feel like I had at home.
Right.
Like, you know, like it's twisted. Like it's really hard when you go and reflect back in your childhood, but we didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. Like the lights would turn off constantly. The water would be turned off constantly. I remember certain certain days, like I took showers outside because we didn't have a shower. We had one bath, right? And I mean, these are first world problems. I feel like there's other countries that have it much worse. But I mean, I went to Colleyville. This was a wealthy high school.
Yeah.
My friends drove Mercedes and Hummers. Like, I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
So, taking showers outside in the morning to wake up my dad, and which is cool now. Now I'm like, oh yeah, man, take an ice bath first thing in the morning. That's how you get the blood flowing. And
you're at home on this podcast. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
We love a good ice bath.
But I kind of forget where we're going. But I was just I was good at a lot of things as a young man.
Yeah.
Like flipping things. I was really good. I sold a ton of stuff at school.
Right.
The problem was half of it was stolen. So,
right.
It was like I would steal from my job at work and turn around and flip it. And why did I do that? Because I didn't feel like that was the only way I could make money to get the cool stuff that the rich kids had.
Right. Okay.
And it wasn't right at all. We all know that. But that was a talent that I had no fear in taking risks to make money, to provide the things. And I did not just provide for myself. Man, a lot of that money, I went out and I would take care of friends. And it was that is, something how I can relate to lower income communities is yes, we need to, be careful of their behavior. We don't want them breaking laws, but also like look at their talents. Look at some of these young kids that are drug dealers. Like they're better with mathematics and flipping, a particular drug than they are with the academics. So like, how can we help that kid with their strengths?
Yeah.
And that was my strength is, I think I definitely could have done better at school in grades, but I also look back and I'm like, well, no wonder why, I love business so much now because I was a businessman in high school. It's just I was doing things a little bit more, rogue.
Unconventional, shall we say.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's fast forward past high school. What are you doing after that?
High school, I attempted college. And, I went out on my own immediately. I moved out of my parents' house that first summer after high school. And I wanted to go to junior college. I wanted to try to be like the normal kid.
Who put that in your head to do that? Like, was that you feel like that was you, or did you have a teacher or people in your life that were saying you should go to college?
The society norm.
Yeah. Okay.
The society, your friends.
You felt like it's what you had to do to be successful.
Your close friends doing the whole 4-year college staying with the parties and the girls and the playing the sports and going to football games and parties. So I was like, all right, I got to do that so I can do this normal thing. And then, junior college, I tried it for, I think, 3 years. And I finally stopped. I was paying my own way through college. I finally stopped because what I believe, I really found my passion. I mean, I'm still doing that passion was fitness.
Yeah.
It's like, because one thing that my dad did tell me, and then a lot of dads and a lot of people hear this, is like, if you find something, you do something you love, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And my dad would preach that to me because he hated his job. He did make a lot of money, and he had been working for Xerox forever and didn't have very much to show for it. And so he would take that on the kids, but he would also, when excuse my language, when shit hit the fan, he also would rant to me.
Sure.
And I would listen. Like, I don't want to be unhappy like my dad.
Yeah.
And so I listened, and I was like, I don't want to be unhappy like my parents. So look, I love working out. How can I turn this into a career? Oh, boom. Look at the salaries. Personal trainers are making like.
So what year is that when you start to get into fitness and think that?
I was 21. I was 21 and turning 22 soon. I was waiting tables and I was working at Costco. I had 2 jobs, and I also worked at Abercrombie for the discount.
Nice.
I worked at night. I worked at night. So I had 3 jobs.
Wait, at night, like you were the eye candy at the door, right?
No, man, I was not. I did model and stuff back then, but it was like I didn't want to be that guy standing at the door.
Oh,
so
man.
you're 21. It's what year is it? 2000.
Let's see. This was probably 2003.
Yeah. So at that time, I mean, fitness wasn't as enterprising as it is today. I mean, there was money to be made back then, but not like there is today.
No, you didn't have the opportunity.
But you found that you liked it, and you said, "This is what I know I want to do. If I can make any money at this, this is what I want to do."
Absolutely.
What's kind of that discovery? How did that happen for you?
Because I was good at it, and it was something that grabbed my attention.
What were you doing that you discovered fitness?
I got my first membership where I paid for it. There wasn't gym membership.
Like when did it click for you? Like, I like this and I can make money doing it.
When I worked out consistently, I was reading books. There wasn't a lot online, so it was all books back then. The Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yep.
Oh man, Charles Poliquin's strength training books.
Yeah. So some of the great classics of bodybuilding.
Yeah, it was all just classics. And when you start something consistent, and like with fitness, and you see results, you immediately can get hooked.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I was like, look at my body, and it was the first time I knew this is what I want to do for a long time. Is when all my friends came home from college, and they looked at me. And for the first time, they gave me some really positive feedback, other than like cool shoes, cool hair posting. Yeah. Hey, your girlfriend's hot posting. This was like, dude, your arms have gotten bigger. And I remember my biggest friend said that. He's 6'9". Oh, he's still my best friend. He's 6'9". He had he played 2 sports at Texas Tech.
Dang.
And so he was the genetic god, right? And I was the shorter, smaller guy. And he gave me that compliment, and then some other friends said something about me adding size too, and I was like, yeah, I just been consistent with my workouts.
And it gives you that sense of control. Like, I can do things and I can receive these benefits from it. I can make changes. I can make myself look different. People see that. They see me differently. I felt this. I mean, I had similar story for myself where in high school people said, you're skinny, you're this, you're that. And some of Garrett's like inception is like, you know what, I that's not what I see, and I'm going to change that. And it changed people's level of respect for me, and then it changes your level of respect for yourself. I think a lot of people in their fitness journey have some of that experience where it's just like, I can change things. I can change the world. I can change myself. And that's where people go from that and start to change other things.
Yeah.
If I can change my body, I can change my family. If I can change my body, I can change my bank account.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have an aha moment when you realize the stuff you do on your own when no one's looking suddenly reaps a result that everybody sees. And you're like, oh, like actually what I'm doing, like my routines, it just gives you like rocket fuel in your engine to keep going. Right. So you've had this moment. You're a fitness trainer now? Is that what your job is? You're training other people?
Yeah, I told my parents, like, listen, I'm gonna drop out of college. Just look at how many years I've wasted. I went down to Austin, partied all my college away, and down there I was still working hard. Worked 2 jobs, but I came back home, left Austin because it was not a healthy lifestyle for me down there, and came back home and said, I want to get these certifications. So still worked, 2 and 3 jobs, studied the first certification, got my NASM, CPT, and then that got me into a job at 24 Hour Fitness.
Yes. That
24 Hour Fitness was the gold standard back then.
Yeah,
that was the number one gym in the area.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Gold's was up there, but 24 Hour was new. And I actually had a job at the front desk before that. And I remember seeing the personal trainers and thinking like, man, I can be just like these guys. I think I can even do a better job because I just love working out so much. It doesn't even seem like they're into their clients. And I'm going to come in here and do this. And so, but 24 Hour, it didn't work out real quick. It was too tough for me, really. Like, they just threw you out there. There wasn't any training, and I had never been a personal trainer. So I quickly just went over to apartment complex. I was like, let me just throw flyers around. And I kind of did my own thing, but I had no experience structuring business and keeping records of, all my money and my clients. And I did well.
So just to catch that really quick.
Yeah.
He's working at 24 Hour Fitness, and they put, okay, I want to be a trainer. 24 Hour Fitness puts him out there, and it's not going well. And you don't say, oh, I guess this isn't for me. You say, I guess this isn't the place for me.
Exactly.
I'm going to go do it somewhere else. You didn't let that discourage you at all.
Well, your environment, just because one environment doesn't work doesn't mean there's not other environments that you need to
That's right.
surround yourself in. And so my environment was having the freedom to kind of learn from my errors and not the pressure about sales and money.
Yeah.
Like, I got in this to help people and to help them get the feeling that I had when I worked out. And remember, back then, not very many people were working out. Everyone works out now. Back then, nobody was working out. And so I felt more comfortable just on my own. And so that's why, and I felt more comfortable not being pushed to hit a number.
Yeah.
Right.
Like 24 hours, like, oh, you need to talk to this many people today.
Yeah.
You need to help this many people with their form. And that system does work, but for me, it just didn't fit.
It works for 24-hour fitness. It may not necessarily work for the clients.
24 hours not doing too well as we speak, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever their model, they did well.
It was
for a
working
while.
at the time.
It was.
The amazing thing is, though, is you look at like patterns in your life. You know, you didn't like school, and because that didn't really fit you, and you're clearly like an independent thinker, and you like to do things and find your own way. So, I mean, I look at that, and I look at the way you said you made money. Once you had a desire to do something, you know, you've got a pattern and a repeated habit of finding your own way of doing it. Like you said, I mean, you were doing it illegally, flipping things in high school, but you found ways to do it. You find something you love, you get the certifications to go down, like, quote unquote, the paved road, and then you realize, actually, the paved road is not for me. I'm gonna go make my own. So, like, this entrepreneurial spirit is clearly in you from a young age, and you see that pattern starting to develop.
Okay, so take us
I
from
never thought about it that much, but you're right. Like, you're right,
This
because
is also
it
psychotherapy.
continues. Like, I'm
Well,
only
this stuff-
22 at this point. It continues.
Yeah.
for most of us, whatever our unique gift is, whatever that thing that's in us, you've had it since you were young.
Yes.
And that's why on this podcast, we like to go back and talk to people about where they were at when they were young, why they thought the way that they did, because there's those threads in our life that have been there since the very
Yeah.
beginning.
Who else flipped like bicycles? Anyone else?
I didn't know.
Or rollerblades? I used to fix
the-
people's
yes,
rollerblades.
Yes, rollerblades, man. Those are the gems. See,
Bearings. No one could clean bearings.
No.
I could clean bearings, so I did it for all my friends and made them faster.
Yeah.
And I would trade them for, like, okay, you got to give me your new wheels off your rollerblades or something. And I did it with bicycles too.
So you were always trying to find stuff to flip. Take us from the apartment gym. Let's pick up back there.
So
You're handing out flyers.
I wanted health insurance because
Oh, yeah.
it was important to me. It was something, and turns out it's a good idea, but I don't even think I ever got sick till I was 29. But, like, I wanted health insurance and I wanted the stability. So I went Lifetime, started in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Lifetime Fitness is huge here now, but this was their second location. They opened Colleyville, Texas, and then they opened Flower Mound, Texas. And when Flower Mound opened up, it was right when I made the decision that, I need to get more stability and structure, and I need to learn about business again. Even though I didn't agree with 24 hours way, Lifetime, when it came to Texas, was the biggest thing. It was a resort-style gym.
Right.
It was very expensive. People that went there had money, and I knew that I needed to get in and get what's the word I'm looking for? Just experience working with higher end clientele.
Right.
I was working for
it's a lot more
apartment complex
expensive to
people,
get
right?
into Lifetime than it is to.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. No one ever heard membership prices like that. So I got in and I went there and I worked there for almost 4 years. Opened up this new club, and I was either number 1 or number 2 at the gym in sales every single month, year after year. I started.
So what changed? How did you go from struggling selling at 24-hour to being number 1 in sales at Lifetime?
They didn't just throw you out on the floor. I give a lot of credit to my managers back then. This guy, there's Ray Figueroa, Michael Taylor, and Matthew Heinrich. These guys, they brought in and they promoted sales books in the sales meetings, in the personal training meetings.
So they invested in you guys.
They invested in us, and they made it so interesting. At least it was interesting for me.
So you also thrived in that environment because you'd never had that before. You'd been waiting to have someone in your life that cared about your success and poured into you. So would you agree with that? That
That
place
was the first time in my life a male figure had invested time in me being better and making more money ever. So I loved it. I appreciate it, and I soaked it all in.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. And plus have you thought about, you put that combined with all the repetitions that you had of training people from the apartment complex, while not ideal, I think a lot of times people are like, I want to do this. And, I want to play in the NBA. Well, you don't just show up to an NBA team and start playing. You go down to the crappy basketball court by your house and you start shooting hoops and working on your game, right? And people understand that in sports, but not necessarily in life. Whenever they're looking for something else that they want to do, it's like, hey, go out, find a place you can practice and start getting reps and get excellent at it, right? Whether that's public speaking or whatever it is, like, just don't say no to a gig. Go take it, because you may not get the result you want, but you're getting repetitions and you're growing even when you're unaware of it. So you've now had all these repetitions training these people. You have a man that's going to invest in you, that's already doing something that you're passionate about. And this is like the concoction that gets you fired up and ready to go. Now, you're in your late 20s, you then find out you have type 1 diabetes, right? And for those that are unaware, what is type 1 diabetes? And can you kind of walk us through the story of how you discovered you had that? Because you had it the whole time, just didn't know, which is amazing.
Yeah. So after, going through all my 20s with normal health, I literally can't remember when I would get sick. If I got sick, it was for a day. I had amazing immune system. And when I was 29, it was when the Cowboys hosted the Super Bowl. I don't know if anyone in Dallas remembers that. But
no one in Dallas remembers when the Cowboys were anywhere near Super Bowl.
They weren't in the Super Bowl, but they hosted it at the new stadium.
Oh, right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and there was another Arctic storm, man. I swear, we get them like twice a year, and it's always at big events. But yeah, the Cowboys, there was a big ice storm, and I actually was working a bouncer gig at a club as a second job, just to like, hey, listen, I don't want to be in the club scene anymore, but I'll work the front door. And this is a way to make extra money.
So I'm assuming you had size at that point.
I was like, no, but I was tough.
Okay.
Like I wasn't afraid to confront people. And I think most of the people in the nightlife knew that. So and plus there were so many parties that weekend that they would hire anyone as a bouncer.
For sure.
Because I mean, you got paid fat.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing every celebrity that everyone thought was cool walk in. Floyd Mayweather.
Did you ever have to scrap as a bouncer?
You know what? No, I didn't. I never had to, because I knew everybody.
Yeah.
So like if I told you to chill out, it was probably a dude I drank with so many times. Like he knows, like, hey, we're friends, or we're cool, or he knows all my homies inside. And so it wasn't going to be just me, a bouncer. That's the thing with bouncers. Like they're unsuccessful when they're just jerks and they're pushy.
For sure.
But if you're a cool bouncer, you can talk people out of.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they're assuming that you're going to be rude and aggressive. So when you're not, most of the time you can get their attention.
Yeah, I knew everyone, so I was like the perfect bouncer.
I feel like Garrett wants a future career going to like the worst cities in America as a bouncer, not to be the kind.
One of my favorite movies is Roadhouse. So if anyone ever wants to pay me to make that happen, I could live that life for a short season.
Jason gets paid to grow beards. Garrett will happily get paid to go bounce at your gathering. That's we'll just put it out there in the airwaves.
I'll train the team of bouncers. It's a little bit different.
So you will need medical insurance for that bouncing team. I'm just saying. Anyways, carry on.
So how long were you at Lifetime?
4 years.
4 years, and then what's after that?
Well, here's what's funny. So we have a new Lifetime here in town that I think we're all members at. Nick,
no, I'm just going.
I'm talking him into it.
Okay. Well, I was just telling the GM the other day that about my story at Lifetime. Why I left because then this is another entrepreneurial thing. There was no boot camps back then. Yeah. There's boot camps all over the world right now. People go work out in fields or work environments or
just a patch of concrete.
Yeah, and they bring little dumbbells or no dumbbells at all, whatever. There's boot camps. Back then, if you said the word boot camp, people got scared because they associated with the military.
Yeah.
And so I didn't call mine boot camp, but I created a group program called Power Groups.
I remember flyers of people doing boot camps, and it was like Army Sergeant guy doing a boot camp. That was the impression.
It was terrible, because there was no form.
I think they're just getting yelled at and beat down.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I, with my functional training, I wanted to create like actual really, technical group workouts for a discounted rate that made me more money. Yeah. So my client saved money, and then I made more money, and this was my goal. That all my goals were so meticulous back then and written down about how to make over $100,000 a year. That's all I wanted to do.
So I'm assuming that your way of thinking changed a lot at Lifetime because of that, what was getting poured into you, learning about sales, to hear you say now, I leave, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm thinking about, okay, this is what I got to do to make this amount of money. This is what it takes to sell. This is what the market looks like and why it's not working well and what I can do differently. So you learned a lot in that amount of time at Lifetime.
A lot in structuring my business and providing, and providing for the customers. And there was also, apart from my management, there was a book I read that everyone should read. I don't care where they're at in life, because it'll either remind you about the foundation or this will teach you the foundation. It's Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Red Book of Sales.
Yeah.
It's so good.
We'll link to that in the show notes.
It's like a cartoon. It's super simple book that like I feel like everyone should read. And then also Zig Ziglar.
Yep,
Yes.
of
Like
course.
the Smile and Compliment Club. Here, we all know this, and this is what I learned a lifetime about. And it carries on with you every career. If you're not in the Smile and Compliment Club, you're not as good of a salesperson or a business person. The Smile and Compliment
Yes.
Club. I think both of you guys did that when I walked in the door. Like
Hey, man.
you complimented on the beard, you compliment, it's just a way.
Nick's way better at it than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Garrett never tells his face he's happy.
I just want to pause for a second for any listener that's hearing this story. At this point, you've looked at who Jason is on Instagram. He's wildly successful. He's very known. He's accomplished a lot of the things that he said he wanted to accomplish. And just listen to his story. Was, not focused on the right things in high school. And then after that is working at 24-Hour Fitness. And I don't know if you left or got fired, but it wasn't going well. And that's a lot of people's story.
Oh, Garrett, I forgot to say this too, because I'm I'm ADD. I told you that before. I forgot to tell the part about how I went to jail 30 times before I was 21.
30
But we'll just
times.
mash
Yeah,
that up
we
until-
skipped that part.
Well, Matt, we skipped that, but
So we just added a whole nother group of people to who can connect to Jason's story of, for the first 20-something years of his life, didn't look like he was going anywhere or accomplishing anything until you figured out what you wanted to do and you did a little bit of personal growth and development. You picked a direction and you started learning and improving yourself. And we didn't get into this part on, how much inner belief you had as a young person, but I know having a father who doesn't encourage you, it can be hard to have a lot of belief.
Yeah.
How much did you believe in yourself when, in those years of high school, going to jail, early years at 24-Hour Fitness, how much did you really believe in yourself that like, I'm going to be successful one day?
Oh, no, my belief didn't start. And it's such a meathead thing to say, but it is. My belief didn't start till I started lifting weights.
Totally.
Because it was the first thing that I was getting elite at.
That you can look at yourself and say, I did that.
Yeah.
So let's get into that.
Yeah.
So we're past Lifetime. Now you're training clients on your own. You're starting your own
left Lifetime-
programs.
left Lifetime
And
'cause
where are you at in your bodybuilding career at that point?
I did modeling shows.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it. I did it for the marketing. I wanted to boost my clientele. I want to make it easier to book myself up.
Sure.
I had booked myself up at Lifetime, but it was really hard. And I had to create these group programs and, I had to sell and bring in new business all the time. But what if people came to me and I didn't even have to recruit them?
So you basically maxed out what you thought you could do at Lifetime, and you're trying to say, how do I do more?
Yeah, I left Lifetime because I created that group program, and they came in and they stopped it. They said they started their own boot camp, and they wanted me to run this whole boot camp program for $25 an hour, but I was making like $300 an hour with my group programs.
Right.
So I didn't see, and they would promise me that there would be some type of incentive, but I didn't believe them. So me and a group of trainers we didn't, because they started group programs like I did after.
Right.
And so we all had group programs, like we were training multiple people at a time, and because they outlawed that, or because they made a rule you can't train more than 3 people at a time, we said, peace. We're leaving. We're going to a studio down the street. And so that was when I went back into more, I guess you say, an entrepreneurial role.
Yeah.
A little bit more structured this time, a little bit more driven as far as hitting numbers and hitting quota and how to structure and how to talk to my clients. So I left Lifetime with a lot of experience, and I'll forever be grateful. And even though they ended my power groups, right, it was still absolutely worth it to get my start there.
Now, when you spoke of ADD, and I think we all collectively have it as well, because we were actually at the point where you were a bouncer, and I got sidetracked by thinking how funny it would be to have Garrett be a bouncer. But that's when you were saying you discovered that you had type 1 diabetes, because right, you were leading up to
Yeah,
it.
this is right after that. So after I was working on my own now,
Yeah.
and I had some really cool different business things going. I think it was the first time in my life that I made over $100,000.
Yeah.
When you take away 50% of what Lifetime was taking from me.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but it was still much harder to get new business now. Social media hadn't taken off yet. There was Facebook, but it was not what it is now.
Yeah.
I was bouncing, and I remember that particular night. The Cowboys were hosting the Super Bowl next year. I forget who's in the Super Bowl, but I had to go pee every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes from my post. I'm standing at this party, right?
Yeah.
These massive celebrities are all walking in. I'm like not checking IDs, theirs, but I'm there checking people I don't know's IDs. And I kept having to leave to go pee.
Right.
And then the guy who hired me came up and got upset. He's like, man, I kept having to get cocktails and girls and people that aren't bouncers to watch the door for me.
Right.
Because I could not control my urination. I had to kept freaking peeing. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, what's going on? So I guess I had peed out all the water I could possibly pee, and I was dehydrated, and that went on the whole weekend. And when I went to look at myself in the mirror on Monday, because I don't even think I looked at myself the whole weekend, I looked so sunken in and sick, and I weighed myself, and I had lost 15 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So I remember, and that was probably like 175, so I was like, boom, down to 160. And that was depressing for me because I'm working out, I'm a trainer, I'm actually a nutritionist at a point too. I had gotten a little nutrition certification. And so I was like, here we go. Like, I literally have worked my butt off to get up to 175, and now I'm back down to 160 like that. Like, all right, back on the weight gainer, back on eating more foods. Like, this is ridiculous. And it didn't. I kept losing weight. So months and months went by. In fact, 9 months went by from February all the way to September, and I had lost about 50 pounds.
Jeez.
So I was down in like the 140s, I think down to 140. At that point, I wasn't even weighing myself because it was depressing to see that. And so I had lost so much weight, and I knew something was wrong, but I kept ignoring it and kept procrastinating, didn't have health insurance. I went to a clinic. At the clinic, the first thought was that I had an STD.
Right.
Or that I thought, I was like, do I have AIDS? Do I have a tapeworm?
Yeah.
I wasn't knowledgeable about diabetes, but the clinic sent me home, said, no, you don't have any STDs, you're good. And I was actually pissed that I didn't have any STDs. Like, well, what is wrong with me?
Then what is the problem?
I would rather have something and you tell me so I can stop this. So during this whole time was also probably the closest that I've become with my relationship with God, because the insecurities and the depression that kicks in from health problems where you don't know what's going on,
right,
it messes with your mind a lot. And my foundation that my mom had and grandmother had instilled in me about a relationship with God and being a Christian, I relied on that. So my devotional, my Bible, my prayers were probably the most consistent and I want to say strongest, but I mean, it was my biggest cry out to God in my entire life because I couldn't sleep. I would have to pee all night. So if you try to go to sleep, you lay down like, oh, I'm tired. It's time to go to bed, but I've got to get up and pee. And you get up and you lay back down. 30 minutes later, you got to go pee again.
Jeez.
Same thing all night until you've peed out and you're completely dehydrated. So then the dehydration symptoms kick in. My lips looked absolutely awful. They were completely cracked like you had been out in the sun or the snow forever. The sides of my mouth were cracked, open like the Joker.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started hiding. I didn't want to go out in public. There was no social life.
And this is just the antithesis of your strength, right? Because you started to feel some confidence from, I can go to the gym, I can put in hard work, and I get results, right? And I can control the change in myself. And now along comes diabetes, and it takes away what you thought is control. Like I can make myself different, and now you've got these things happening to you that you can't control. So this brings you closer to God. Then what happens after that? How do you take the reins back and start to control your diabetes?
This is important. What happens after that? I'll absolutely tell you, but I have to say this because, people who don't believe in God and atheists will say, well, what is your proof? And this was, I already had my faith and I was a believer, but my prayers, I would hear the same thing. And I would it would be when I was halfway, what we call it hallucinating from, what's it called when you get sleep deprivation?
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt sleep deprivation for the first time. I'm sure they took you through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that.
Yeah. You're crazy. You're,
I've heard that before.
sleep deprivation, it's different in different people.
Yeah, that's true.
Some people
That's very
handle it
true.
amazing. And then, I mean, for me, I felt like I handled it pretty well, but not that whether it was from sleep deprivation or call it literally God answering my prayers, he would tell me the same thing every single night in my halfway sleep that, Jason, you have strength. You know, just continue to have faith in me and you will be stronger than ever. I get goosebumps. I think I got goosebumps right now. Like, cause it was the same thing. And of course, while you're in it, you don't know what to believe. Like, dude, but I did start to believe it. Like, you have strength. You're not strong right now, but just be patient and I will make you stronger than ever.
So where did that come from? I mean, you're hearing that from the Lord, but let's just dig into that for a second. Yeah. For you to hear that from the Lord, you've got to be in a place where you can hear. So you talked about you said your mom, right? Your mom and your grandma put that belief in you at a young age. Are you reading the Word of God in that season of your life or no?
Absolutely.
You were?
Yes. And it was a men's devotional.
Okay.
So I would quickly turn to things like strength or like depression, insecurity. So I had key words that I wasn't able to navigate through the Bible, but my men's devotional helped me navigate through the Bible during that time. You know, and also, you know, I started to go to church too. I started to get where I was in the club all the time and where I was a social life guy. I started to get more into, you know, the church scene.
And would you say that was directly triggered by this struggle of diabetes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is the common thing that people do, you know, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but like and I definitely gave all glory to God in the good things that happened in my 20s, but not the way that I should.
Sure.
And so I had tangled with too much of the party scene and the nightlife. And I, in a way, I felt like the whole time I'm sick, even though I'm depressed, even though I don't have any confidence, even though I had no money, I lost all my money because I lost all my clients. I couldn't get up to train people anymore. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't sleep all night and I would just train a few clients a day. That was all the energy I had. And I'd go home and go back to sleep.
Man.
But through that whole process, something was telling me, you know, and then those prayers, like something big is going to happen. Just keep your faith. You are strong. Remember that. You're not strong right now. You're weak. You're physically weak, but you are strong.
And I love that.
And then boom, September 1st, 2011, 9/1/11, I was diagnosed. I went to the hospital. They pricked my finger finally, said, "Oh, you're diabetic, and like you're gonna have a hard life." You know, they gave me all the scary stuff, sent me home, and then I actually got into.
And you're thinking probably what? I'm not fat. Like, what do you mean I have diabetes?
Well, yeah, I mean, I believed them. When they said that, I had denied diabetes for about the last month because a couple people told me that, and I said, whatever.
Okay.
I said, I'm not fat, like you said.
Did you have the level of education on diabetes? Because it wasn't as talked about, you know, it wasn't as common knowledge as it can be now.
You're right. No, 2011, and that's just, it seems like it was just yesterday, right? 2011, people were not aware of diabetes, and now we're at over 400 million worldwide.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so you get diagnosed with diabetes. Take us from there.
I get diagnosed from diabetes. One of my grandmothers, the same grandmother that used to, you know, testify and just put the word into me, said, "Hey, Jason, also I got you a free research study." Because remember, I didn't have insurance.
Yeah.
So I didn't have money or insurance. I said, "You got a free research study, and they're going to give you insulin as long as you just do these, and they're also going to pay you."
Wow.
I said, "Wow, okay. I'm there tomorrow." Yeah. Call the doctor, go in there. They give me insulin. He gives me a shot, tells me what I need to do. He's like, "Now you need to go down to the cafe. You need to go eat because we just gave you a shot, and come back up after you eat."
So were they feeding you too?
They gave me coupons to get free food down the cafe.
Oh my gosh! Wow. You hit the lottery.
Yeah, this is like a big win.
Yeah, and
this is the opportunity.
Yeah, and after he gave me my shot, I'm walking down the cafe, and I feel like I just absorbed every nutrient from the last 9 months that I hadn't absorbed.
Yeah.
I felt like I went from slouching with, some type of back, issue, like, some type of to standing up straight, just coming alive. Like, what? I just got my energy back that I haven't had all year. And I said, and it was immediate, like this rush of excitement, like I'm going to crush the world.
Yeah.
Right. In a matter of just one, it really woke me up right there.
Oh man.
I can only imagine, but I can't imagine what that's like to live for so long without that energy. I mean, people have this experience of living without God. People have this experience. So many perspectives create this where they've lived with so little for so long. And what it gives them is gratitude for what they do have.
Yes.
So essentially, you breathe again
Amen.
for the first time, and you say, I'm not going to waste my breath anymore.
It's like a lot of people listening can probably understand when you, for some reason, maybe haven't eaten in a while, and then you go and get a Snickers or whatever, or you go and get a hamburger.
Yeah.
Like maybe if you got, and for maybe some people haven't eaten, like you worked out really hard, you did a hike, and you went on a long walk, and then somebody's got some like awesome hot dogs or something awesome back at the camp, and you're like, this tastes so good.
Yes.
That times 100.
And that's how you felt about life.
Yeah, because it wasn't just the food. It was on all cylinders. I'm getting my money back. I'm getting my health back. I had lost a girlfriend at that time. I was like, I'm going to get a girlfriend again. I'm going to get my finance.
You felt like you could do anything.
I felt like I could do anything.
So take us from there. So the research study puts life back into you. And then what? How quickly do you get to where you are, where it really were? Yeah, take us from there to, like you were actually one of the first. I would say you're like one of the first 30 people I followed on Instagram in like 2013 or 2014. So, and you were, I mean, at that time you were one of the top fitness influencers on Instagram. So that's a short time. 2011, you're in that research study. You're feeling like death. You get this injection of life into you.
It was a sprint.
In a few, so that's crazy to me just to think about that, to go from there to who I first saw when you were on Instagram at the time. So
yeah, you're like 140, you said, right?
This is the most on fire I've been in my entire life. I hope and I pray to ever catch fire like this again.
Yeah,
because it was absolutely no distractions. From women too. I remember I went abstinent for the first time since
well, hopefully that closeness
for over a year.
That closeness with God, I'm sure, stayed with you as well.
Yeah, it did. I had confidence that every move I was making was strategic to build my life for the better. And it started with a foundation. For the first time, I was consistent with my faith. I was consistent with the people around me. There was nobody distracting me. Absolutely nobody. If you weren't building me up better, then you weren't in my life.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I wanted to build up other people better. All the clients in my 20s that I took their money and I trained them and I increased their performance. Now I was doing the exact same thing, but I was also changing their life. It was a whole different type of client that I was training. God was giving me people that were looking to do what I did, completely flip their life around and do it through fitness.
One of the other important things I want to note here is that during that low season of your life where you were hearing from God, you believed it. Because people can hear those things and they can say, like, I just don't see it. Like, God, how could you do that? Like, doubt is definitely in everyone's equation, but you didn't let it into your equation. So having had that where you're hearing from God, like, hey, you're strong, Jason. I know this isn't your life isn't what you think it's supposed to be right now, but just wait, but just hang on. And you believed it, and then this happens to you, and that's a big part of your fire in this season.
Yeah, I want to, before you carry on, I want to take a summary of events as well, because I think I didn't know this. Like we've talked before this. I had no idea, man. Like, I love the storyline or plot, if this was a movie, of a guy who's just sort of going along. He's had some tough times. He's had some good times. He's kind of getting to a point where he thought was good enough, and gets stripped back to literally where you have nothing. Literally, you said you lost all your money, all your income, anybody that was around you.
Lost all his size.
Yeah, lost all your size, which was the one thing you have confidence in. The only thing that got stronger when you're laying in there was your spirit. And oh my gosh, Joe, I love that because, man, we say this all the time. The strongest part, we are a spirit that has a soul and lives in a body. And the strongest part of us is the spirit because that's the part that can communicate with God. And I love that you were sitting there. And what did you do? You applied the disciplines of working out in the spiritual sense. And I just find that so amazing that you heard the same thing over and over again. And you said you had no belief. You said to us, you were like, I was 140. I still didn't have belief. And then suddenly when you're at your weakest point, what does God do? He comes in and starts instilling belief in you. Dude, that gets me pumped up. So pumped up.
And it was so obvious.
Yes.
I pray that every person gets to feel what I felt at that point in their life. And I truly believe you don't need to get sick like I did to feel it.
Yeah.
But we do have situations where we just hit rock bottom in life at something. And if you can completely give it to God and humble yourself to go down the path he wants you to. Like some of the stuff he was telling me to do, I didn't want to do. Like get rid of my best friends.
Yeah.
And I know I wasn't getting rid of them. Like, I mean, distance myself from my best friends. These are my roommates.
Yeah.
The guys I've known since middle school and high school. Like, you know, these are but they were distractions to where I needed to go. We were living life different. And where he wanted me to go, he needed me to live in solitude for a little bit and to just focus on being a better person and educating myself and how to live with this new disease, right? And I couldn't do it with all these distractions from people who were still doing what I previously did, which is just living a crazy life full of distractions that you allow yourself to become desensitized to. Like, you know what I'm saying? People have these, like they'll have a certain friend that's a distraction.
Oh, for sure.
Well, then they start hanging out with that friend, and then they have another friend who becomes that friend, and then all of a sudden they've got a group of friends that are all just like doing fair weather crap. Where.
So what was so essential to you in that season was focus. You learned how to focus.
Yeah, and to call myself out, it's because I had a problem with focus my whole life.
Yeah.
Because my focus was I was easily distracted with social life. So if for the first time I needed to be lonely for a little bit from people. And
Do you feel like you still are in that fight today where you're having to constantly work against being distracted and I need to get focused on what I'm doing?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll always be a distraction for me. I think Satan knows our weaknesses.
Absolutely.
And he knows how to get under our skin and to distract us or to whatever your fake curse may be. The devil knows that, and he's going to always remind you of that. And so I'm constantly battling with staying focused on the most important things in my life. And now the distractions are all different.
Yep.
But,
they change.
Yeah.
But you still get distracted.
All right, so let's pick back up in the story. So you've gotten to this point where you got weak. I feel like this is like the Captain America story, like where you're like this skinny little scrawny guy and suddenly they give you this injection and you're like, I know it wasn't overnight, but so take me from this. So you've gone through these trials. Suddenly you're able to gain weight again. You have energy. You feel like you can take on the world.
I gained 30 pounds in 30 days.
Nice. I'm pretty sure you could sell that. You could sell that program online.
I went back up. Yeah, I looked better than ever because my skin was so tight.
Yeah.
And the whole time I was sick, I was lifting.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't the same. I'd literally slap myself.
You probably felt like your strength doubled in that time too.
In the time, yeah, the strength didn't double, but the strength came back and a little bit stronger than I ever was. It was, but yeah. So I lifted all the time I was sick.
Okay.
I would slap myself in the face. I would pound as many energy drinks as possible, like way too many.
And that wasn't helping you.
Yeah.
No. Then I became adrenal fatigue, and the energy drinks
for
didn't work. Plus, energy drinks do not work. Period. With high blood sugar.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Doesn't work.
So you're like, hey, I've just realized I have type 1 diabetes. I know now what the solve is. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm just going to go become a professional bodybuilder. I'm pretty sure that's how the conversation with yourself went, right?
You know what? It was my choice, but who do you think guided that choice?
Well, of course. I mean, if God's telling you you're going to be stronger than ever, just keep believing. Like, what a message.
Here's a weird thing that people... So this is why I can't judge guys that take their look serious. Because there's some guys, a few of them. There's not a lot. And it was really hard for me because I got so tired when people would judge me based on the fact that I wanted to have a good appearance.
Yeah.
That I cared about clothes. that I did modeling and stuff. I didn't like it.
Right.
I never liked it. I loathed it. I didn't like the people I worked with, but I did it because throughout all my career, it's helped advance my career.
It's excellence.
It's helped. Yeah, it is excellence. It's helped me gain following. You know, it's helped me have a more positive influence on people. So that's why I always say it's not whether you do something, it's why you do it.
You don't gain a lot of followers by being repulsive and disgusting.
Yeah, or like hiding away.
Shoot, I don't know, man. Nowadays, like
it's true. We live in a different world. But people admired your excellence. I remember back 2013, 2014, like you were very excellent and you were known for being different. I remember following you back then, like, yeah, this guy's legit. He works hard. Like, you can tell that he's different than some of the other guys.
Yeah.
So 2014 is whenever I first saw your career on the professional bodybuilding scene. And to Garrett's point, at 2011, you've entered this program where you get insulin, you're getting paid. So how did you get to be a bodybuilder? Like, because you were always into fitness, but it's a whole nother world going to bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, was that I knew God was pointing me in the direction that I didn't feel comfortable, and that was marketing my look.
Right. Okay.
It's really off pattern.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and my sons come to me in this, like, Dad, I don't want to be a model. I'm like, well, why?
Yeah.
You want to be a bodybuilder? Why?
Tube sock modeling pays well.
You want to be a tube
experience.
you want to be a hand model, or like, why? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's all these weird things in life. Yeah. And we kind of need to ask these people.
I'm showing you my calves. If you can see this on the video, I don't want you guys. Oh, look,
they're looking good in those.
The jeans won't even go up. The jeans won't even go up over them. It's 10 calf raises a day, 12 years. Anyways, carry on.
But yeah, so it was, for the first time I embraced it. But I honestly didn't have a lot of options, right? It's like I was a personal trainer, and there's this new division in bodybuilding where I had been a fitness model in the past, and I had won some fitness model competitions in the past. So I saw these guys that I used to beat in these fitness model competitions, and I was like, you know what? If I get my body back to where it was, plus I gain maybe 5-10 pounds, I think I could beat these guys in this new, physique division.
Huh.
And so I saw them, and so after my diagnosis, 8 weeks later, I entered a competition. Like, I didn't even have to diet because I was already lean. Like, I was skinny, right? So I grew into the competition. Like, I grew, and then I competed, was third place. This is a whole new division. They didn't even know how to judge it, but they really gave me a lot of positive feedback. The judge came out after, is like, I had you winning, but all the other judges didn't. But trust me, keep with it, stick with it. And so, like I did before with trying to market myself and my look to build my business, now I had to do it more than ever because I lost all my money. So I was like, listen, I have some clients, I can pay some bills. I think I can float an apartment. I borrowed my sister's car. I lost my car. So I lost everything. So I had the money to just live, but now I needed to make money, to save money and get back on track. And so I kept competing because every time I did that, people respected the work ethic.
You got people coming up to you after the show like, oh, man, that's impressive. How did you do that?
Exactly.
So you're gaining your followers one at a time.
Yeah. Facebook took off then. And then I think the next year, Instagram started. And here I was equipped with what those platforms wanted, was interesting people doing interesting stuff to give people information every single day.
Yeah.
And I was already equipped. I had 10 years of personal training experience at this time, or maybe 9. And so the bodybuilding just kept flowing. I was good at it. They liked my look. And it was also great for my new diabetes lifestyle, where I woke up, I ate the same breakfast every day. Meal 2, meal 3, 4, 5, 6 were pretty much the same every single day. And then the only difference for me is I had to learn to do it with diabetes in this division, right? And I'm also motivated by the fact that no other type 1 diabetic had ever become pro in bodybuilding. There was one male who did it, and he was like different organizations.
Yeah.
But I was searching the internet everywhere, and there was not a single male who ever did it. So I was driven to do something that no one had ever done.
I want to pause on something you said there, that because of diabetes, the consistency of your bodybuilding diet worked really well for you. consistency works well for everyone. They just don't have a disease that forces them to be consistent. So just think it like that. That's what I was thinking about. Like, man, for everybody, if you'll get in a pattern, like, hey, this is what works. I need to do the same things every day. And I see the results from that. Jason just had a disease that forced him to be that way. But almost everyone is going to find success in their diet and exercise by consistency. You just got forced into it.
That's very true. Yeah. It's so people, I can't stand when they ask this question, but I get why they ask it. They're like, so diabetes, type 1 diabetes was a good thing. I'm like, sure, I guess it was a good thing.
Well, it's a part of your story. I mean, when you achieve a level of success that you have, everyone wants to look for like, oh, well, it's easy for you because of this, right? People want to find those things like, oh, well, if I just had what they have, then it would be easier for me too. So it's not that they're attacking you, but people want that validation for why they're not successful.
And they don't realize that thought process is going on.
No, they don't.
But by saying that, like, oh, well, that's what helped you. That's basically kind of their excuse for why, which is crazy because like, oh, I wish I was diabetic, then I'd be a bodybuilder.
Yeah, it's not people attacking Jason. It's just, I mean, who would rationally think that type 1, man, type 1 diabetes, what an advantage for physical.
It eliminated a lot of my distractions.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look back, I had so many distractions and I was weak. I suck at distractions. You know, I'm better than I was back then, but I still kind of suck at distractions. But for me, type 1 eliminated I completely stopped drinking alcohol, right? That alone will get you more fit and help you look better.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped all, crazy foods. I was scared to eat foods that I wasn't sure about macro-wise. So I only ate foods that I was really consistent and I could count up my macros each meal. Your macronutrients, your carbs, your fats, and your protein. That's what you have to do when you're type 1. You don't just eat a plate of food. You look at a plate of food, you count up the carbs, and then you eat it. Now, I count up the protein, the carbs, and the fat. I counted all the macros because I also learned, and being a very meticulous person, I wanted to own this disease. I looked in further than what the doctors told me. The doctors told me the basic guideline to living with this, and they also told me I would never be a bodybuilder. Like, dude, no, you won't. You're going to get fat. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. And I remember when I told my research team that was giving me the free insulin, like I'm going to do these competitions. They were so scared.
Yeah.
They thought because you've got to get so lean. And when you're really lean as a type 1, you have hypoglycemia, low blood sugar a lot. So I would have to lie to them about my low blood sugar. But what I also started doing was keto.
Okay.
And nobody had done this.
Nobody was doing that back then.
Especially not a type 1.
Yeah.
Nobody was doing it, period. And the diabetics, if you tell them not to eat carbs and they're going to get low blood sugar, the doctors will freak out.
Yeah.
Because they're so scared of low blood sugar when really they should be scared the most of high blood sugar.
Right.
That's what slowly kills you. That's what causes ketoacidosis or your brain to fly. That's what causes wounds to not heal on your body. That's what causes to literally take off 10, 20 years of your life and develop neurological diseases. Like high blood sugar is 10 times worse than low.
Right.
Can low blood sugar kill you? Yeah, you can black out. You can drive down the wrong side of the road. You could possibly go into a coma. But I've had low blood sugar so many times. I've built a website on low blood sugar. I learned, I don't know if, and this is not backed by science, but I feel like I'm used to being low blood sugar. So low blood sugar doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
We were talking to a guy who's been put through some pretty extreme circumstances and learned to make it acceptable and something that you can live with, right? I mean, it's amazing what you can do when you tell yourself something different, when your self-talk isn't, I can't. I think it's amazing. I'm looking at your life, man, and I'm just seeing like the grace of God on your life from all these bad things.
Don't get distracted, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason saw a string on the table, so he had to pick it up.
Why'd you put that on purpose?
Dude, we definitely put that there on purpose.
It was a test.
Don't look at the shiny bell. Seriously, don't look at it. Anyways, now he's looking at it. No, but I think it's amazing though to look at like God's grace in your life of, like you had that rebellious streak when you were younger, right? And it's such a negative thing at that time because like you said, I mean, you're in prison over 30 times before you're 21 years old and you're finding a way to do things that's not right. But there's this rebelliousness and there's this resourcefulness in you. So now, you don't know where that's leading you to, but you gradually apply that towards fitness and you progress and you pick up some stuff that you don't want. And then like you had type 1 diabetes the whole time. It's genetic, right? It's not like it just, you didn't catch it in the bathroom.
I don't believe that.
Okay. I don't know.
I don't. I mean, there's going to be, I would like to see well, first of all, no one's ever had type 1 in my entire family. So my personal thought, and also there is research that supports both genetics and outside causes, but I believe that some type of plastics or heavy metals or medications,
something environmental,
something environmental from the outside of my body caused this autoimmune disease.
Wow.
Got it.
Okay. But what I think is amazing, though, is that the way that you end up getting to the biggest, all the things that you were doing, you talked about modeling so you could gain a following and get customers to come to you. You didn't realize all the things that you were learning. And I just always find it interesting how people's lives come together and little seemingly loose ends end up all tying together to make sense. And what made them make sense was type 1 diabetes, which is not a blessing. Like, I don't think anybody goes like, oh, praise God, I got type 1 diabetes. This is awesome. But you get something that makes you weak, and it's the thing that makes you weak that actually made you the most strong. And I just, man, that gives me chills. Like, I think that's amazing. And then next thing you know, not next thing you know, but then you have this injection, you get this surge of energy where you can do anything. I love that you entered a competition straight away. You didn't waste time. You didn't think like, oh, I'll work my way up to it and one day I'll take action. You took massive action in the moment. And from there, you just built momentum, because then, like you said, all these things that are outside your control, I think a lot of people don't start things because they look at things in a straight line. They go, well, I don't think I can get to the height of that mountain because I'm just traveling like this. I've got a straight line going up. And they don't realize you're going to be a different person. Fast forward that line 2 years, you're a completely different person than you were 2 years ago. So your trajectory can change.
Ready, fire, aim.
Yes, outside things can come in. You don't know what's going to happen. I just love that you took massive action, and then somebody comes in and gives you a compliment that instills the belief that you need to be like, hey, I'm right about what I'm doing. And then you push on. I mean, I did not know this, but I read up a lot about bodybuilding. I've learned that they have specific criteria. Is it just for Mr. Olympia, or is it for everything? Like, because the judging is on, it's on mass, symmetry, proportion, definition, and stage presence. Is that right?
Yeah. Each division is different, but that could sum up every division. There's different male divisions, right?
Okay.
There's the heavyweight bodybuilders,
right,
that are absolutely huge. And then now there's classic physique, which is like your classic bodybuilders back maybe say 50s, 60s, 70s.
Okay.
And then
love that stuff.
Physique was like a big, like a cover model look.
Right.
Like a cover of Men's Health, Men's Fitness, Muscle and Fitness. And it's grown. These guys keep getting bigger and growing because they're learning and adapting that lifestyle. So I kind of was the face of that new division.
Right.
They wanted a fitness model look.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. It was challenging because they were developing the criteria as they went.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they gave us some type of here's how you compete, or here's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
They would say some basic guidelines, but
and part of this was because of some of where bodybuilding was at that time, right? Like it had gotten pretty far from what it was with Arnold. So the bodybuilding sport had changed, and so who they were trying to, the division that you were in, was kind of trying to bring some new attention and some new, because most people were not like excited or attracted to a man with 350 pounds of muscle slapped on him.
Small group of people, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so they brought in.
I was just saying that just for
that.
some of the audience who aren't like bodybuilding fans. Growing up around Pastor Keith, I mean, I always grew up looking at bodybuilding magazines and him talking about it, so I understand at least some of the history.
Yeah, this was their attempt to grow the IFBB, with more mainstream people that they could relate to us because we weren't so far advanced. We weren't.
Well, it was also
monsters.
that most people would say like, I would want to look like that. Whereas you'd ask, 99 out of 100 people on the street would look at these guys who are 350 pounds and say, oh, I don't want to look like that.
Bodybuilders
but they would
hated
see
that.
you and
Bodybuilders
say,
hated
I want to
the
look
physique
like
guys.
that.
There were some respectful guys, but a lot of bodybuilders, man, we came in and stepped on their toes quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we started taking contracts. We started appearances. And what's funny, I'd love to talk to, because some of them will admit this, but some of them won't because they're egos, right? But when a smaller guy, right, and we weren't small, but we were smaller. When a smaller guy with less muscle comes in and starts getting more attention than the bigger guy with more muscle, who's been actually working longer, oh man, you get some Clash of the Titans there
for sure. But it
I
wasn't
there to
appealing.
step on any toes. I was there, just like I was back at Lifetime, just like Zig Ziglar said. the Smile and Compliment Club. I was there to shake hands, kiss babies, and make friends with
It
everyone.
also wasn't your fault. The judges in that sport took it in the wrong direction, but that's a different conversation.
I love you. Thanks for saying that for me, bro.
Yeah.
I love you. Like that is yes. It wasn't the judge. I didn't make the sport. I didn't make it.
The
This is
judges
just-
took it away from where it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cycle. It's all coming back around.
Yeah, we don't want to get too much of bodybuilding talk. Your
No,
followers are like,
It's
we're-
interesting though. I didn't know a lot about bodybuilding, so I enjoyed researching it.
Yeah, we couldn't
So-
tell that by the way that you look, Nick.
Okay, dude. Shut up. I mean, there was always going to be one joke. It's okay. It's
No, I
okay.
think everyone looks at Nick and says like, man, this guy's probably an archive of bodybuilding information.
Yeah, obviously. You know, when you're putting up a clean 115 on the bench
Nick
press,
starts every podcast with, trying to jab me, so I got to throw some in every once in
You
a
know
while.
what? And I got to say, I'm so happy that you did, because it's just nice that you throw something back. A lot of times it's like talking to a brick wall. So thank you for returning fire, Garrett. I appreciate it.
Okay, we could talk about Jason's story for a
Yes.
long time. I think we did a good job of unpacking some of the
Yeah.
lessons and nuggets in his story. I want to end on just a couple questions
Yes.
for Jason. One of the most, I would say to me, honestly, inspiring things about you is to have a disease and do something really in spite of your disease. I think there's a lot of people that can relate, maybe not to being at the top of physique bodybuilding, but I think there's a lot of people who can relate to, hey, I've got this autoimmune disease, or I've got this injury, like, oh, well, I can't be a runner because I got knee problems, or I can't get into,
Yes.
or, I can't lose weight because I have, X, Y, or Z disease. Like, I've received this condition and I've accepted it, right? What would you say to people like that?
those limited beliefs will limit you more than just what you think, you can't do. Like, for example, you said like someone with hurt knees that says that they can't ever play sports or do anything active ever again. That's going to hurt a lot of things in your life. It's going to hurt your relationships. It's going to hurt your finances. When you have limited beliefs, it really is an extremely life-changing negative thing. So, for example, when I saw that no one had ever been a type 1 or type 1 pro bodybuilder, and I went out and I sought out to do that, and then it turned into more than I ever even had any goals. I mean, multiple Olympias and traveling the world and making lots of money and covers of magazines and all this cool stuff that I never even envisioned. It was simply just started with a belief. So if they can take something from that, don't let your beliefs hinder you. We've already got enough going on against us. Don't shoot yourself in the foot with a simple thought process.
Yeah, and just do what you can, right? So many people with a limiting belief, they'll say like, oh, well, I know I can't be a billionaire, so I'm probably not supposed to be successful. Like, you didn't say like, oh, I don't think I can be number 1, so I won't even try. Like, at least take steps, right? Do what you can. Is that would you say you started that way? Like, you had belief, but were you thinking like, I can be number 1 in my area of bodybuilding in the world?
I didn't think I could be number 1 in my area. I mean, I didn't. My belief was to simply win each day, each week.
That's good.
It was just to simply have gratitude and be grateful the fact that I wasn't sick anymore.
Yeah.
But also, it was to slowly each week save up a little bit of money.
Well, that's funny. It's funny you say that. You were still sick, but you changed the nature of your condition, and you've changed the way that you
sick
felt
right
it.
now. What do we have to do before we started?
Yeah.
I had to relax down.
Yeah, Jason came over to my house on low blood sugar. We had to like let him eat and get some water for a few minutes before we could start.
Yeah. We wouldn't have had a very good conversation. But yeah, so that's funny you put that way. Yeah, because it takes someone from the outside. If you asked me, technically, yeah, I live with a sickness.
Sure.
I don't ever think that I'm sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
They told me that I had comorbidities, and I don't want to say the words here to get your podcast flagged or censored, but yeah, I got the virus, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I didn't have any type of beliefs that, oh, well, I've got this thing. No, I take care of myself. I eat healthy.
That's right.
I have a very structured vitamin and holistic protocol. And so I got it, and I was fine. On day 5, I was working out on day 6, but it didn't just start with that week. I've been taking care of myself, my whole life, and especially when I was diagnosed with this disease. So, our belief system in that, we want to do what we can to achieve our best. Doesn't pay out tomorrow.
Yes.
But you will be like me if you simply each day, each week, do small steps and do what you can to reach your best. You know, at whatever God is pulling you, or whatever, you know, for the people, I'm sure most of your people are believers, but maybe not. Maybe something's pulling you, some mysterious mind wave. Your mind is pulling you in some direction. If you work at that every single day, you will be like me, and you will look back at where you once were and find out that you accomplished more than you ever thought you would.
Nick, if I could just like boil down what he just said and his story, the two things that were really Jason's superpower or key to his success are gratitude and belief, which are things we talk about on this podcast all the time, which I knew would come out of your story. So thank you for saying what I knew was in you. I have one more question. And this is really for, I know, some of the people that are going to come listen to this podcast. This is for the listeners that I know you brought here. Young men who look up to you and are saying, like, I want to be like Jason. What would you say to some young men who want to be a bodybuilder or who want to do what you've done?
I would say you won't be good at it. It will not last very long if you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
You won't be successful. Now, you could be like some guys I know. You could actually make it to the top. You could win the whole dang thing.
Then what?
And then it'll all come crashing down.
Yeah.
Because I know them all. Would never name names because that's not cool. But I've seen some people rise to fame and crash hard.
Because it's not what they thought it was.
Because they were doing it for the wrong reasons.
Doing it for the wrong reasons.
You know, I didn't ever win. And I'll still always have a chip on my shoulder for coming so close to not winning the big show. Now I've turned that into business though. I got mouths to feed. I got college funds to pay for. I've got
we won't
wealth.
name names, but there's a lot of winners who haven't found the success.
Yeah, and in certain ways, like the relationships I've built, that the opportunity I've gotten. You know, I mean, political figures and CEOs.
Goes back to the smiles, right?
The Smile and Compliment Club.
Yeah, Smile and Compliment Club.
Yeah.
I like that.
If you don't smile and compliment somebody after you hear this podcast, you didn't learn anything from this podcast.
We're going to end on that. That's so good. So, Jason's story, use gratitude, use belief to get to where God has set you up for, to achieve your destiny. Mm-hmm. Hold on to gratitude, hold on to belief, and let the Smile and Compliment Club open doors for you.
Yeah, I love that. Jason, thank you so much for joining us, man. We just want to honor you and say thank you for taking time to come talk to us and come on our podcast and spend time with us. I really enjoyed hearing your story, man. I didn't know a lot of that, and I did a lot of research on you. So I enjoyed that tremendously, man. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story with us, dude. And
I'll come back again. This is only the second podcast I've done, I think, in the last 3 years.
Oh, awesome. Well, we'd love to have you back on again, man. Guys, this is the first time it's going to be on YouTube, by the way. So if you want to see just how Jack Jason is, and if he's still up for it, we're going to do a flex together so you can see what me at 180 looks like compared to Jason's guns.
Oh, Lord.
So this is going to be interesting. I'm not pulling my sleeves up. You'll notice these guys are doing this. My sleeves won't come up over my shirt, my biceps, guys. Anyways, these are.
I haven't even worked out yet.
All right, dude. I did 10 push-ups last week, so you don't test me, bro. All right. Well, anyways, thank you again, man. Guys, we'll see you again soon. Take care.